Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news and analysis from Taiwan. I'm Donovan Smith. Up today on the program, Taiwan's airport malls shutting down one terminal. Singapore's First Lady gets Taiwan's media into a sling. More international support for Taiwan. Taiwanese place ad in the New York Times, but was it worth the money? Taiwanese baseballs to be broadcast in English. Again, very mixed news on the economic front. Taiwan's military to go Iron Man. Czech courts recognize Taiwanese aren't safe in Chinese prisons, like anyone would need to know that. And the national carrier name debate heats up. I'd like to remind you that all of these English language articles will be up on report.tw because I'm covering a lot today. So let's jump right in. In coronavirus news, as always, Focus Taiwan, the headline reads, Taiwan records no new COVID-19 cases, total kept at 393. This is the first time in 36 days since there have been no new cases, so this is very good news. In the Taiwan news, the headline reads, Taiwan has lowest cases per million over past 50 days in world. There's a chart there, which is really quite interesting to look at. Basically, Taiwan is doing far better than just about anywhere else on the planet. Continuing with the Taiwan news, community spread of coronavirus unlikely in Taiwan, reads the headline. The head of Taiwan's coronavirus task force response said Monday it is unlikely the country will experience large-scale community transmissions of the Wuhan virus, or COVID-19. In the Taipei Times, virus test kit production likely by July. A COVID-19 rapid testing kit developed by the Industrial Technology Research Institute should be ready for mass production as soon as July, officials announced yesterday. The kit, which works by testing nucleic acids, can produce results within 1 hour. Now, the nation, however, is developing 3 testing methods. So the first is the nucleic acid one. Another method involves testing nucleocapsid and spike proteins, which is being developed by researchers from Academia Sinica and NHRI. That test could produce results in 15 to 20 minutes and might also be ready for mass production by July. Now, that is very important. If you can get results quickly, that will be a big game changer. For example, that would mean that opening up international travel again is possible. So, for example, you could go in either before you get on a plane, ideally before coming to or leaving Taiwan. They could give you a test, get the results back in 15 to 20 minutes, then determine whether or not you could be on the plane. Now, that means 2 things. One is that people would need to set aside the time for it. And number 2, we need to make sure that the tests are highly reliable before doing that. But this could mean that most people could ride fairly safely on the planes with normal precautions. That would be a big deal for opening up the country again and getting the economy moving. In Focus Taiwan, masks are for protection, color not important, President. President Tsai Ing-wen said Tuesday that pink is a great color for both boys and girls, expressing support for a statement by the health minister a day earlier that pink face masks can be worn by anyone. Now, what happened was there was some press that little boys were afraid to wear pink masks because they don't have much control over what masks are assigned to them or the color. So little boys were concerned. So what happened is the health minister and all the people at their daily press briefing put on pink masks. President Tsai Ing-wen is wearing pink mask. Here's a picture of Su Zhenchang here with this article wearing it, a pink mask. And the idea is to make it clear that the color of the mask that you're wearing is not a gender-specific thing. Boys and girls can wear whatever color mask, and their masks. Doesn't really matter. It was a nice sign of solidarity. In the Taiwan news, Taiwan Airport Mall's closing terminal as passenger volume hits record low. Passenger volume at Taoyuan International Airport down from 130,000 to less than 1,000 per day. So that would probably make sense. In Focus Taiwan, government provides 10,000 part-time jobs for COVID-19 affected. They announced, the Ministry of Labor announced on Monday that the government is providing 10,000 part-time positions for workers affected by the pandemic, with up to 50,000 more jobs to be made available in the future. The program is aimed at part-time workers who have had their hours cut. Now, workers who enroll in the program can work for 80 hours per month for up to 6 months. They will be paid the hourly minimum wage of 158 NT, which means that each worker could earn up to 12,640 per month through the program. The jobs, which are being offered by both central and local governments, will be open for application starting on April 13th. In RTI, Taiwan budgets 400 million NT for universities hit by loss of Chinese students. Now, the Deputy Education Minister said that news from China was very sudden, that they were canceling the students. He said that there are about 8,000 Chinese students enrolled in schools in Taiwan. More than 7,000 are back in China and unable to return for school, while another 800 are still in Taiwan. Now, the major problem here, which we've talked about on Current Affairs Taiwan this week, is that there are simply too many schools. And that's a fact. We talked about it at some length. In We the Citizens, the headline reads, Errr, ... on the Taiwan Singapore mask drama. There's a little drama here, and the context. Taiwanese social media has been abuzz recently because He Qing, who's the First Lady of Singapore, shared an article about Taiwan's mask donations on 11th of April with a caption, Errr, ... which seemed to indicate that she had some sort of issue with Taiwan's actions. This really got Taiwanese talking, leading to the Taiwanese media picking it up, pushing the government to respond. Now, the headline, the article that she posted, was Taiwan to donate medical masks to Singapore, and her comment was, Errr. Now, she's come around and thanked Taiwan profusely and has been much more gracious about it since. It was never 100% clear what she meant by Errr. Moving on to The Age. This is an Australian publication. The headline reads, Bipartisan call for WHO to accept Taiwan as a member. Australian politicians from both major parties have called on the World Health Organization to give Taiwan membership, blasting the UN body's performance in tackling the coronavirus pandemic. The intervention by federal MPs comes after Taiwan accused the WHO of ignoring its early warnings at the start of the COVID-19 outbreak. Part of what it says is a long history of sidelining it because of pressure from China. The bipartisan push will place pressure on the Australian government to support Taiwan's next bid for membership of the WHO. While Australia has called for Taiwan to be included in key meetings and dialogue, it does not have a position of supporting the push for membership. There's quite a few quotes in here from various politicians across the political spectrum in Australia, if you want to check it out. The national interest. Conservative leaders sign open letter urging Trump to accept free trade with Taiwan. Conservative leaders are asking President Trump to establish a free trade agreement with Taiwan that they say would bolster America's interests. Calling Taiwan a model trade partner, the conservative leaders write in a letter addressed to the president, the idea of a U.S.-Taiwan free trade agreement has been blocked for decades by Washington's concern for Beijing's sensitivities. The most encouraging thing about your administration is its tendency to look past the way business has been done in the past and take a fresh approach when the U.S. stands to gain. The veto power Beijing has exercised over this issue in administrations past should be revoked, they added. Nothing about a free trade agreement with Taiwan is incompatible with serviceable, productive relations with China. The letter, which was released Wednesday, has 9 signatories, and it's a variety of conservative groups. Into Focus Taiwan, crowdfunded Taiwan Can Help ad published in New York Times. The New York Times on Tuesday published an advertisement funded by over 26,000 donors in a fundraising campaign with the aim of showing the world that Taiwan can help in the fight against the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. The full-page advertisement, initiated by a Taiwanese YouTuber and an award-winning designer, begins with the question, "Who can help?" or WHO, followed by the answer, Taiwan. The bottom of the ad reads, "In a time of isolation, we choose solidarity. You are not alone. Taiwan is with you." Now, many people feel this is a good effort because if it's in the New York Times, a lot of articles may be written about it, and a lot of very important people read the New York Times, and so therefore it may be influential. Others have argued that this is a complete waste of time because if you were to take the amount of money spent on that, you could do all kinds of different ways of marketing online, for example, in other media, which would attract far more attention. I'll leave it to you to decide. Focus Taiwan, Taiwan's pro baseball league to broadcast games in English. Taiwan's baseball season, the only one scheduled anywhere in the world during the COVID-19 pandemic, will include English broadcasts from Wednesday to showcase Taiwan baseball to a wider audience. Now, this is a good chance for Taiwan baseball to become much better known because there's a dearth of sports anywhere in the world. However, in the next few weeks, some other seasons in some other countries may kick off. Taipei Times, Ministry reports 12.9% increase in tax revenue. The Ministry of Finance said that it collected $19.3 billion in tax revenue last month, representing a 12.9% increase from a year earlier, on the back of gains from most tax categories. Now, that's interesting. Corporate income tax revenue swelled 54.9% year on year, while personal income tax revenue rose 1.9%. Securities transaction tax revenue soared 63.4%. So all in all, that's pretty good news considering how much money the government is throwing around right now. They're going to need all that they can get. Continuing with the Taipei Times, the headline reads, "Average monthly take-home pay up 2.62%. The average monthly take-home wage in February increased 2.62% year-on-year to 42,317 NT. But some sectors began to feel the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic." Now, take a look. That was the headline, very positive in the Taipei Times. Now, moving over to Focus Taiwan, reporting on the same information, the headline reads, "Real earnings down in first 2 months of the year, DGBAS." And they kick off with the average real earnings of employees in Taiwan were down in the first 2 months of 2020 compared to the same period a year earlier, but average real wages rose. That's an interesting way of spinning the same information. Continuing with Focus Taiwan, manufacturers' fixed asset investments soar over 40% in Q4. So that's the last quarter of last year. Fixed asset investments made by the local manufacturing sector in the fourth quarter of last year jumped by more than 40% from a year earlier as more Taiwanese firms with overseas operations invested at home. In Focus Taiwan, the headline reads, "IMF adjusts Taiwan's economic growth down to minus 4% in 2020. The International Monetary Fund has lowered its projection for Taiwan's economic growth in 2020 to minus 4% from 2% because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, admittedly at this point, trying to predict what's going to go on with the economy this year is a fool's game. Who knows what it's going to be? Moving on to the Taipei Times, military budget shows plans for a power exoskeleton. The military is planning to spend millions of new Taiwan dollars to design and build its own military-use powered exoskeleton, which is expected to begin production in 2023, a Ministry of National Defense budget proposal for fiscal 2020 showed. The military plans to use the suits in wartime and in post-disaster rescue and relief missions. And the exoskeleton is a wearable mechanized system that magnifies movements, allowing enhanced ability to perform physical tasks. They could also help operators carry loads over long distances. That sounds like fun. I want one. On to safeguard defenders. Czech court rules against extraditing Taiwanese to China. The Constitutional Court of the Czech Republic has ruled that 8 Taiwanese who are accused by Beijing of telecom fraud cannot be extradited to China. The ruling was posted by the court itself last week. So, that's very good news because a lot of countries have been following the recommendations of their foreign ministry and allowing Chinese to extradite Taiwanese accused of telecom fraud. Now, as Michael Turton has pointed out, in a lot of cases, the Chinese government actually is on strong ground because these Taiwanese telecom fraudsters are actually targeting Chinese nationals. The problem is that the prisons and the prison system in China is, of course, concerning. Now, they referred to their own Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, and it says here, no one shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, which is why they had concerns about extraditing Taiwanese to China. In Focus Taiwan, Premier offers support for China Airlines name change. Now, if you listen to the last show, you know this has been picking up some steam, but it's getting a little bit there are some complications with it, but that the Premier is behind it is a good sign for it to go forward. Now, the KMT has, under their new digital promotion, has come up with a countdown clock, basically mocking the DPP for not getting to the name change since they've been in power. Now, of course, the NPP also came on board. Now, this is from a Storm Media piece in local media. However, responding to the countdown clock mocking Lin Jialong and the DPP, they also said that Lin Jialong wouldn't dare change the name of China Airlines. Well, Lin Jialong said, well, if we can't change China Airlines to Taiwan Airlines, how about you guys change the Chinese Nationalist Party to the Taiwan Nationalist Party? Then some DPPers set up a countdown clock starting from 1949, mocking the KMT for not changing their party name. And finally, the NPP, the New Power Party, is launching a competition to design new covers of a Taiwan passport with the Republic of China removed from it and only saying Taiwan in English. So this is actually, I think, quite a good idea because it gets people excited about the project, it gets people talking about it, and if the winners of the competition, people will pass around the images of a beautiful new-looking passport that just says Taiwan in English on it. So it's not a bad idea. All right. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Be sure to hit subscribe. And be sure to check out all the English language articles on report.tw, plus a bunch of articles that I picked out for you that are longer reads and more interesting reads, which I thought you might like.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
哎呦，就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。